Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In continuation of our Kubernetes series, today we are going to build and run a Spring Boot application locally and then test its APIs using Postman or any browser. I will start with the manual steps because as a DevOps engineer, it's important to first understand how the build and deployment process works before jumping into automation. Once you know these basics, it becomes much easier to package the app into Docker and eventually deploy it on Kubernetes. I already have the source code available in my local for the Spring Boot application, but you can grab any public repo, clone it and follow along. By the end of this video, you will learn how to build a Spring Boot project using Maven, run the jar file manually, access and test APIs in Postman. Let's get started. Before we jump in, we need Java and Maven installed on our system. Where we will perform the build and deployment. I'm using Windows Server, but the steps are exactly same for all the Linux distro as well. Let's check the Java version. So I'm using Java version 23 and Maven version 3.9.9 is being installed in my system. So I will use Postman to check my API, which is installed locally in my system. And for IDE, any IDE, Visual Studio or IntelliJ, whichever you are comfortable with, you can use. For this demo, I will be using Visual Studio Code. Let's talk about the project structure. This is my Spring Boot application named SEH Students, built with Java framework. Let's quickly explore the structure, this pom.xml file. This manages the dependencies and build configuration. Maven automatically downloads the required dependencies or required binaries which are mentioned in this pom.xml from Maven Central. Here this group ID, artifact ID and version, these are important. Group ID is the unique identifier for your project or organization. This artifact ID is the name of your application and this version is the version of this application. Here is one more important parameter which is final name. This final name defines the jar name. Example, here artifact ID hyphen version number dot jar will be created when we build this application. So artifact ID SEH students hyphen this version number dot jar will be created. Now let's talk about the controller class. So that is inside src main Java, then controller StudentController.java. This controller class defines the API endpoints. Let's break down the annotations one by one. So first of all, this REST controller, it tells Spring Boot, this is the REST API controller. Then we have this REST mapping annotation. It sets the base path for all the endpoints. Means this cross origin HTTP localhost /3000 /API v1 student. This will be the base path for all the endpoints. Then we have this register. This is the post mapping. This API to register a new student, and we are having get mapping /students. This API to fetch all the students. Now let's talk about the another important file, that is application.properties, that is available inside src main resources application.properties, where we configure the database connection and the server settings. So here JDBC MySQL, this tells Spring Boot that we are using JDBC to connect to MySQL database. JDBC Java database connectivity is the standard API in Java to interact with relational databases. Notice that I have set up MySQL IP and port, and the username and the password are environment variables for safety purpose. In Kubernetes, we will replace these with secrets, or we can use tools like Red Hat, Conjure, or for secure management. Well, these properties connect the app to MySQL, enable SQL logs, and configure server port 3000 instead of default port 8080, and handle cores to so that APIs can be tested from different clients. Now let's check up the database connectivity. Login with MySQL user. So MySQL -u username and then -p, enter password. So use show databases to show all the available databases. So we are using StudentDB. Switch to StudentDB database using use StudentDB. Now list all the tables inside StudentDB. So show tables. Now check the record inside student table, select star from student. Okay, so as you can see, student DB database is running and the student table already had some data. This means our backend data source is ready. Now we can connect it to Spring Boot app. Now let's go back to your IDE. So inside IDE, I don't have any target folder available yet, but once I run the Maven clean package command to build this application, the target folder will be created. So let's run mvn clean package. So what happens here? Maven cleans any previous builds. It compiles the source code, runs unit test cases if any, package everything into jar file inside the target folder. Let me show you inside target. Once it completes, jar file will be created here. See, we have our jar file now. Now run the Spring Boot application. Now let's the app manually. Since it's a Java based microservice, we will run it with java-jar. Inside target, our jar file is available. Then this one, by default Spring Boot uses its embedded Tomcat application server. That means we don't need to install Tomcat separately. It's bundled inside the jar. So when you start the app, you will see this Tomcat server started on port number 3000. So here Tomcat started on port number 3000. You can also run it in background with Noha, but here I was showing you the log so that you can see how Spring Boot initializes and how Tomcat starts internally. Now it's time to run the API using Postman. Now with the running app, let's test in Postman. First of all, get all the students. So click on new, HTTP, select get, and here enter the URL. So I have already created the URL in my notepad. So copy this one and paste it here. So this URL corresponds to get mapping slash students, this one. Endpoint number StudentController class. When we click send, we immediately see how the data is fetched from the student table in MySQL. That means the app is successfully connected to the database. Now let's try with the post operation as well. Click on new, HTTP. So here need to enter the URL with respect to the post mapping. Copy this. And here in the student controller with respect to post mapping, /register should be used. So I will be using /register, select post here, and in body section select raw, then select JSON, and I have already created data. So copy this data, paste it here, and click on send. So data will be added inside the student. Okay, so this new data will be added inside the student table in the database. So basically now we have working CRUD API running locally. So if I show you in my database, select start for student. So the latest data is been created. So well, there are some tips if you face any issues. If port 3000 is busy, update server.port in the application.properties file. Okay, if MySQL connection fails, make sure database is running and the credentials are correct. If Maven build fails, run Maven test and carefully read the logs. So these are the common issues. If this video helped, please like, subscribe and comment. It really supports the channel. And in the next video, we will containerize this app with Docker and then deploy it on Kubernetes cluster. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching and I will see you in next one.